Welcome to our Saturday afternoon spice appreciation sessions, guys. This is, I think, our third one. My name is Manshi, and I'm the owner and operator of Foodie Trails here in Melbourne, Australia. Thank you to everyone of you who have set reminders to join us today. We've got a very special guest on who's going to chat to us all about beautiful spices used in Sri Lankan food, and we're so very lucky to be able to chat with Dee Williams. She has got an amazing amount of knowledge and experience, and this beautiful lady has spent some time on MasterChef Australia, made it to the top 24, and really wowed people with her knowledge and her excitement, and her just bringing out all of the beautiful flavors of her cuisine. So we're very, very pleased to welcome on our session today Dee Williams, who is of Sri Lankan origin but lives in Melbourne, Australia. And I'm going to let her give us a bit of an introduction about herself in just a minute. And she's going to where she's coming from with her cuisine and what she is most excited about with Sri Lankan food. So thank you so much. Welcome, Dee Williams.
Hi, Manshi. I hope you're having a great day.
I am. I've been looking forward to this session for so long. So I'm really glad because I've watched you do the recipe with the salmon the other day, and I saved it, and I'm going, yep, I'm definitely going to do this one. This is so easy to do. So when you said, oh, I can cook something up, I'm going, yes, why not? So we're very excited. But before we get into any of that, I'm going to ask you to please, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey that's gotten you till now, because some of our audience might not be as well versed with you as most of your audience would be.
Yeah. So I'm Dee Williams. I was participated in MasterChef 2019, made it to the top 24, and I showcased a lot of Sri Lankan dishes. So from MasterChef to where I am now it's opened up a lot of different doors for me after getting into MasterChef. So I've been to Sri Lanka a couple of times, and I'm doing a YouTube channel which I'll be showcasing a lot of Sri Lankan flavors, which I did a trip last year in October to Sri Lanka. And it's more like culinary and travel adventure. So it showcased different food, different spices used in Sri Lankan cooking, and also the travel, how it's for the tourists if they go into Sri Lanka, what they can expect. So those kind of stuff. And then I was invited again to Sri Lanka in January. So I went in there to judge a competition, which is totally different to what you're used to. So it was really a sort of like a excitement, but at the same time you're stepping into something unknown. So you just learn from the job as well, and also judging the competition and tasting different flavors from the contestants. And so it's really overwhelming for me, like going in there doing all of those. And then after the auditions and everything finished, they requested me to stay for another month, so mentoring the contestants. So that was like amazing experience. I really loved it doing that. I didn't want to come back, so and then ended up coming back. No, ended up coming back because of the corona. So that's pretty much what I've been doing, and then small little bits of work in terms of developing recipes and doing some pop-ups in different restaurants. So things like that I wouldn't have done without MasterChef. So that's sort of like a stepping stone for me, getting into MasterChef and enjoying all of this, what I'm doing now.
Oh, fantastic. I think just before the corona hit, you were in Adelaide doing a little bit of a cook-up with Sashi.
Yeah, that was really a good experience to work with Sashi, because he was 2018 winner, and to be with him and getting some ideas from him how you approach in a restaurant environment, because MasterChef is totally different to the restaurant environment. So I think learning from him, that was an amazing experience, because I really loved it. And that was a fantastic night as well.
Yeah, we had Sashi help us out when we did the cricket event in
Yeah,
2018. So the
yeah,
same year he did the cricket Boxing Day Test match. We did a
yeah.
festival outside the MCG, and Sashi was there with us. So yeah, very nice guy. But today, so tell me, with yourself, um,
Yeah.
before we get completely off topic and start talking about people we know, so with yourself, because I know Sri Lanka is made up of quite a few different backgrounds, and most people don't realize that there's different culinary influences in
Exactly.
that small island itself. What's
Yeah.
your Sri Lankan culinary heritage?
Because Sri Lanka is like mainly does have a lot of different people coming into Sri Lanka and left their influences. So Sri
Yeah,
Lankan food is not like one dimension. So you do have Portuguese influence, Dutch influence, and South Indians. So there's like lots of different variety of food and the spices that's been introduced in Sri Lanka. So
yeah,
I'm more like how would I say? Because my parents, they're like, my mom's family is like part of South Indian background,
yeah,
and my dad was like pretty much in Sri Lanka. He was born in Sri Lanka and everything. So
yeah,
this, I do have sort of like towards my mom, and
yeah,
then on the way when I was learning and everything, I learned different stuff from different people as well. So there's like it's sort of like not one dimension. It's just
yeah,
like pretty much everything.
yeah. No, I completely understand. All right. So, when I was chatting to you and I said, we've come up with this spice box and it's got all of these beautiful spices. We've got about 15 spices from around the world. We call it the Spice Experience Box because you purchase the box and then you get a series of masterclass videos that you can watch that go along with all of the spices. And there's a recipe book that uses all the spices, and it's all very exciting. But out of that has come up these beautiful spice conversations that we're able to have with people like yourself. And I've been trying to talk to people about the spices that are from their heritage. So
Yes.
absolutely, I definitely want to talk about cinnamon because that is, originally Sri Lankan,
Yeah.
and from
Yeah.
there it's traveled the rest of the world. But I
Yeah.
know that you have had so much more experiences with so many other spices. So I'm going to let you first talk a little bit about how you use cinnamon in your food,
Yeah.
or how you associate with cinnamon considering it's from your part of the world.
Yeah.
Then then we can explore some of the other spices that you like to use.
Okay. All right. Okay. So in my cooking, I use a lot of spices because, as you know, especially in Sri Lankan and Indian cooking, Southeast Asian, like pretty much we use a lot of herbs and spices in our cooking, and we call everything a curry. But I think it's every single curry's got their unique way of doing it because it's not
Absolutely.
the same way. But I think we all call it curry, but we got to come up with different names, I think. And
Yeah.
pretty much I love to use like a lot of herbs and spices. So
Yeah.
spices like cinnamon, that goes really good in savory and sweet. So that was one of my favorite to pick. And the green cardamom, that's the other one. I love to
Yeah.
use it in use it in
That
curries as
must be your
well.
that must be your South Indian heritage talking.
I know, I know. And then use fenugreek seed and mustard seeds. They're
Mm,
like
lovely.
one of the
Yeah.
because I think in South Indian cooking you use a lot of fenugreek and mustard seeds, and it does
Yeah.
gives like a lot of flavor before you
Yeah.
make the curry. You temper it and then you add the mix. So I think that makes it like a big difference. And
Yeah.
the other spices like cloves. I use quite
Yes.
a bit as well. And in
Okay.
Sri Lankan cooking, what we normally do is like we use the whole spices, but at the same time, we use the curry powders as well. So this is
Mm,
like the Sri Lankan dark roasted curry powder. So this is like
okay.
my mom's recipe, and every household will have their own way of doing it.
Yeah.
And even different parts of Sri Lanka, they have their own name as well. But this is the normal roasted curry powder that's used in Sri Lanka. And it does have all those spices in it. So individually, they will be roasted, and then they grind them into a powder consistency. And you get
Yeah.
like a really strong smell as soon as you smell it. You can
Yeah.
smell all those spices like cinnamon, the cardamom, cloves, and all of those. It's just like even they use this in the curry, but you still use the whole spices as well. So you can imagine how it tastes like.
It does. It's different. You know, it's funny because everyone says, oh, you can use the powder and it's the same thing. But when you use a whole spice, I feel like the flavor is different. And when you use a powder spice, I feel like the flavor is different, especially if you dry roast the whole spice and and then powder it down fresh and use it. I feel like the flavor is much stronger because it's still got that oil content in it.
Exactly.
And I think that transfers really well as compared to when you've got it stored for a while and then you're using it.
Exactly. So we use that mainly for like meat curries or fish curries when we make it. So it does gives that rich flavor. And also there's another one which is unroasted curry powder, which is mainly used to make like dishes like vegetarian ones. So they use it like it's sort of like mild. You don't have that stronger flavor. You still have that mild flavor in potato curries, bean curries, and things like that. So those are the two different curry powders that we use. And then as you call it, like Jaffna curry powder, that's totally different. That's a bit of Southern Indian influence there because it's some part of Sri Lanka is closer to South India. So you do have that. And the other one is we use a lot of chilies. So you could either use it as roasted chilies or unroasted chili powder, or you can use the fresh chilies as well. So I think we use a lot of chilies in our cooking as well. And pepper comes in more like southern part in Sri Lanka. They use a lot of pepper. So that's sort of like a thing where they make like ambul tial, which is sort of like a fish dish made with a lot of pepper, tamarind juice and things like that. And you preserve that for a long time. It's cooked in banana leaf and in a clay pot. So it just kept, like those days people didn't have fridges and stuff. So they used those kind of methods to preserve it for a long time. Yeah. So like, as in India, like you use a lot of spices. So it's not like you use one spice to make a dish. You use like several other spices in one dish, I think.
Absolutely. No, I think so. You're right. So you've got something planned for us today.
Yes, I do.
What do we have? Because I can see you in your beautiful kitchen set up there, and you've got someone holding the phone for you. So off to the set, what's happening here?
Okay, so I'm going to make a black goat curry. It's like you use a lot of cinnamon as well in the curry powder as well as in the cooking process as a whole spice. Because I just wanted to point out as well, cinnamon, we like find cinnamon in the market. There's like two types of cinnamon. One is like cinnamon, it's like rolled in like several layers, you can see there. And those are the cinnamon that comes from Sri Lanka, which is like sweet bark, you can call it, or Ceylon cinnamon. And when you see the cassia bark, which is like one roll, you don't have those layers. And it doesn't smell like really strong like the ones that I've got here. And when you try to break this, it's really hard. But I think this is really good for stocks and stuff. But when we cook with cinnamon, I prefer the cinnamon. Then
because you can handle it.
It's amazing, So I think we can use it in all savory and sweet dishes as well. But because we use a lot of spices in the curry, so I just wanted to show you a curry dish where it's used with all the spices. So do you want me to go on with the cooking process?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see what's coming up.
Okay.
Because I love goat, and it's not so easy, you know, it's not as common to eat goat in Melbourne as it is back in India or Sri Lanka, where we predominantly eat goat, but here obviously it's a lamb country.
I think because I think goat does have a lot of like a stronger flavor, like a gamey flavor. Not everyone likes goat, whereas lamb is a bit milder version. But you could use the same curry powder and the spices in lamb as well. It works really well. And I'll just get the pan hot. And I'm using coconut oil.
Do you think it translates well if you're using red meat like beef? Or do you feel like you might need to put a bit more spices if you're using a meat like beef?
You can use it in beef as well. Same sort of process, because that curry powder does have that flavor. And you can just go with how much curry powder that you wanted to use. But I think it does work well with red meat because of the rich flavor of the curry powder itself. and also the
Sure.
meat, because you do have all those fatty bits
Yeah.
and bones and everything. And
Yeah.
once you make it, it gets like really thick and gooey, so it's really yum. So I'm using coconut oil. You could use ghee, because I wanted to use ghee, but then because of the fat contained in the gourd, I'm just trying to use the coconut oil.
Yeah.
So I just add the coconut oil.
Yeah.
And I've got all the spices here. Before I add the spices, I'm just going to add some onions
Yeah.
to the pan. And I've got some ginger and garlic, which I just smashed it up. Because I think rather chopping it up, I prefer like when you smash up the ginger and garlic, you get a stronger flavor.
Yeah, it's got all the juices come out.
Yeah. And then just give it a quick mix together.
So you're just sweetening and browning the onions before you add the spices to it.
Yeah, so just a little bit of sweating, so just get softened up, and then we can just add the spices.
And you're adding spices in powder or whole ones? What are you doing today?
Both, Imanshi. So I've got the meat already marinated with the spice mix, which is the curry powder, chili powder, salt and pepper, and then garlic and ginger. So I marinated overnight so that it absorbs all the flavor. So you could leave it marinated for 4 hours in the fridge, and then you can use them as well. And I'll just add some pandan leaves, which is like really big in Sri Lanka, using pandan leaves in cooking. And our favorite curry leaves.
Of course. It's just a whole different flavor once you add a curry leaf, isn't it?
I know. It just blows your mind, and you just wanted to go, oh, I want to eat that curry, because it just gives that stronger flavor. And also, it's just like when you fry it and add to your dish as a garnish, that's amazing.
It does taste lovely. Have you been, I've been asked this question many times, and I love explaining it to people. I'm sure you've been asked this question as well. Have you been asked the question that does curry powder come from curry leaves?
Yes. Yes. People do ask that.
It's such a natural assumption to make. You know, because a lot of the things, all of the spices come, the powders come from the spices. So it's such a natural assumption to make that curry leaves make the curry powder. But it's not the case.
Yeah, because I think even in the curry powder that my mum makes, she does dry roast the curry leaves as well into it. So that's also grinded up. So there's about, like, I think she adds about 20 odd spices in there. And even like, you don't need to add any coconut milk or anything to thicken the gravy, because of the curry powder does have like things like rice or chickpeas and things like that roasted, and then blended with those spices. It gives that nice thickness to the curries as well.
Yeah, so it's similar. It's nice to chat about this from two different backgrounds, because there's some things that we do with our cuisine that are obviously going to be similar to yours in the sense, like, we also use chickpea powder as a thickening agent when you're doing curries and sauces. Similar to what a lot of people use corn flour, we use chickpea flour.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So nice,
and I'm just going to add the fenugreek seed.
Yeah.
What did you say, Manshi? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I was just saying that it's nice to see that you guys do the same thing.
Yeah, because I think it's sort of like, I think different ways we use the same thing, same ingredients, different ways. Yeah. And it's really interesting to see, like, you know, how the dishes taste differently, because people, when you say curry, they all think curry is curry, but then you just taste all different flavors in each different dishes. So it's very interesting to see the way you use it, and it just makes big difference.
It does.
So I'm going to add fenugreek seeds and mustard seeds.
Fantastic.
So I'll just let them pop a bit, so it just goes like really a bit browny, and then with the fenugreek seeds, it needs to like really get into the oil and start popping, because otherwise it gets that bitter taste in the curry. So I just leave it in there for a while.
Yeah.
And then I've got the whole spices here. So I've got a little bit of cardamom pods, the green ones, and then
Yeah.
cloves, and then I'm going to add some favorite cinnamon.
Oh, of course.
It's interesting, like the way they use cinnamon nowadays, because when we went to Sri Lanka last year, and we've been taken into the agro farm
Yeah.
where they grow cinnamon and all the other vegetables and everything for the hotel. Because I did a little bit
Yeah.
of work with Jetwing hotels. So they do
Yeah.
like really big on sustainability, and they do grow their own vegetables and everything. So they had their big agro farm where they grow the cinnamon as well. So once it's ready for harvesting and everything, they get the cinnamon and make a really good cinnamon tea in Jetwing Lake. That's the first time I had cinnamon tea. That was amazing because it was a rainy day and you just like sipping the cinnamon, and it's like amazing. Like it's so like sweet, but also like it just comforts you, the cinnamon. And it's a really nice taste.
Well, considering you guys make some of the best tea in the world, adding a bit of spice to it is not going to harm anyone. It's funny because, you know, I'm talking to so many people from different backgrounds about the spices that are used in their culture and their cuisine. And, you know, they in the Turkish cuisine, they will put cloves in the tea.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then in the Indian chai, obviously, there's a whole bunch of different spices. In Sri Lanka, there's cinnamon tea. In Morocco, they put mint leaves in it. So it's really nice to see how spices are playing such a major part in all of the different cuisines, even in things like drinks, like, you know, coffees and teas that everyone is drinking every day. I mean, cinnamon is so common with a sprinkle of cinnamon on a chocolate, or even on the, you know, coffees and stuff.
Yeah. It's really good. It's really good that you add all the spices, because it does have health benefits as well. Because I think you probably agree with me, because when we were growing up, our parents used to say if you have a tooth pain or something, they go, just, you know, use cloves and just bite into it and then you'll be fine. And then when you have a stomach pain or something, or like the stomach is not, just have some ginger tea. Like, you know, those things are coming up now. It's very interesting to see. Even turmeric, and then people just now, turmeric latte is very popular.
I think the first time I think it was about maybe 14 years ago. I'd been in Melbourne about a year, and they started serving at a coffee shop. They started serving a chai latte. And I never knew what a chai latte was. And I thought, oh my God, it's chai, like Indian chai, right?
Indian chai, yeah.
I go in, I ordered it. I'm fully excited that we can now get chai right around the corner from university. I had one sip and I go, well, that's not chai. That's just coffee with cinnamon in it.
I know. Because when you make the chai, it's amazing. It's like, you know, I make it sometimes at home. It's just really good. So I know, like, what you mean.
I know. I have this expectation in my head that when you say chai, you mean like an Indian masala chai and not like a chai latte. So it was like I had to understand what they were trying to do.
All right, I added the marinated meat now. And I'm just going to brown it a bit so it just gets a bit browned and absorb all those flavors in there. And I'm just going to add the water afterwards into the pan. So I'll just give it a quick mix. I think you can see it's like really dark in color because of the curry powder.
Yeah. This looks awesome. But a lot of people ask me if we seal our meat before we cook, we add everything else to it. Obviously, you don't do that either. You're cooking it once you've already put onions and things in there. Have you ever needed to seal the meat before you put it into the rest of the dish?
No, what I normally do is like when making curry, you just add all the ingredients that you want, like the onions and the spices and everything. And also you add the spices into the meat and marinate it as well. Yeah. So then once you put it on the pan, it just sears itself like with all the onions and everything. So you don't really need to do it out like, you know, bring it before sear it. And I think once it just gets a bit brown and then it absorbs all the flavor, then we can add the water and then bring it to boil, and then you can simmer it for like hour and a half. And then it just does the magic because you got all those flavors in there, and it's just happens inside the pot.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think if you let it cook and stew with the spices and everything in the curries, then it's a lot more flavorful as compared to if it's sort of sealed before you add everything else into it.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
So I'm just going to add the water now.
And you're going to share this recipe with us, aren't you?
Yes, certainly. So I will got the recipe for you so we can share it with our viewers, and yeah.
Fantastic. So guys, thank you for everyone who's watching and commenting. If you've got any questions for us about the spices, or if you've got any questions for Dee, feel free to put them in there, and I can read them out to her while she's getting the dish ready.
Okay, Manshi, I'm just going to swap it over because I've already done the dish, because it takes about an hour and a half to cook. So we just need to make it a bit quicker. So I'll just transfer the hour.
Yeah.
And this is how it looks like once it's cooked, because without adding any coconut milk or anything, you can see like the gravy has already thickened. Like,
yeah. Oh, wow. Fantastic. So you've just let that one cook for about an hour, and this is the consistency it's come up with.
Yeah, so that's the consistency. So you can just see like the gravy is like really thick already.
Yeah, I want to jump into my phone right now. We'll come to your house for dinner.
You can come over for dinner. It's nearly ready now. So what I'm going to do, like once the curry is like really thickened to that consistency, I've got like toasted coconut. You just toast the coconut like really dark, like sort of like a black color, and then you just blend them up, and then you just add it to the curry. So that just gives the sweetness from the coconut, and also the oil from the coconut as well. Because once you roast the coconut and then you smash them up or just blend it, a little bit of water and then blend it, and it just thickens the curry as well. So I'll add a little bit of that.
So this is, are you using fresh coconut?
Yes, fresh coconut. You could use the desiccated coconut, but I think for me, like I always prefer fresh coconut because we use a lot of coconut in Sri Lanka, and I don't find the desiccated coconut as much flavorful as the fresh coconut.
Yeah. And if you didn't have access to that, are you, I know it might not be exactly the same, but could you swap it for coconut milk?
You can, yeah, because to dilute it a bit, because the coconut does have a sweetness to it. So if you think it's too spicy for you, you could just add coconut milk, and or you could just add the toasted coconut, because with the desiccated coconut, you can toast it and then blend it with a little bit of water, and then you can just add to the curry.
Yeah.
So, and then last but not least, once it's ready, I'm just going to add the lime juice to the curry.
Oh, fantastic. So just half a lime.
Half a lime, and then that goes in, because lime does brings out all the flavors together, same as the salt.
Yeah. So I'm just going to summarize what I've watched here, and of course, guys, will get the recipe of Dee and post it in tomorrow or the following day. So what we've done here, you've heated up some oil, you've added some onions, some pandan leaves, and then we've followed it up with some fenugreek and mustard seeds. And once that's crackled and popped, we've added the marinated goat, which is mostly marinated, but with your signature curry powder and some chili. And some salt, and you've added that in, and on top of that you've then put some more of the curry powder and let it cook, and of course some fresh cinnamon as well, and then once it's all simmered for about an hour, you've added in the toasted coconut, and you're letting it sit for just a few more minutes and finish off, correct?
Yes, and then just lime juice at the end. So when you when you see the meat, like it's like really soft, and you can just cut through it, like it's just like really soft, and it just when you leave it like for about an hour and a half, it just absorbs all the flavors, and at the same time it gets really soft. Because what I find it is like a lot of people does that what they do is like they cook it very quickly, especially with the meat where you get the leg of lamb or even leg of goat. It does take a lot of time, because when you're making a curry, you got to simmer that for a long time to get all those flavors and get the meat really softened, so it tastes really better.
Yeah. So is it, would, for those people who like to use slow cookers, this would be a fantastic recipe for that, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yes. So once you just put everything together, and then you just put the slow cooker, once you add the water, and you can just leave it there for a long time, and it'll taste absolutely nice, because you don't have to do anything, because once you put the pot, because I normally cook it with the lid on, so all the flavors retain in the same pot. So if you're using slow cooker, especially during winter, I think it'll be a really good dish.
Yeah, I think it would be fantastic as well. I can sort of imagine what the fragrance would be in your kitchen right now. And what would you eat? What would you eat it with? Would you is it common for you all to eat hoppers all the time, or what do you generally, or is it mostly rice that you would eat your curries with?
Because normally in Sri Lanka, they do eat rice at least once a day, because here people don't intend to eat a lot of rice. But we normally eat rice with a meat curry, and then you have a couple of vegetables, and then you have like a something called like a malung, or a salad on the side. But these kind of curries can be eaten with anything like string hoppers, because it does have that like really thick gravy, and you have the like falling apart meat. So I think it goes really well with even roti, paratha, and you can eat it with anything, and or you can even eat it by itself, I think.
Yeah, and you know, the funny thing is, I generally, when I make like chicken curries and fish curries, I like to eat them with roti or with rice. But when there's a meat curry, I like to actually eat it with bread, and you know, like and dinner rolls. And the reason for that, I have a reason for it. It's not just random. I like it because the bread soaks in all the spices from the gravy.
Yeah.
And it just tastes so, because of the meaty dishes, we put that extra spice in, right? As compared to the chickens and stuff. So just that, and because when you cook the meat dishes, because as you said, when the fat and everything melts, the consistency of the sauce or the gravy is that thicker consistency.
Absolutely. So I think it's just the bread soaks everything, and because even when you're eating the rice with the hands, like that's the best part, because like when you make curries like this, you got to eat it with your hands to get all those flavors. And even like I find it like after eating, you still can smell it with your hands. Like you know, it's just like amazing.
Exactly right. Oh, that looks fantastic.
All right. There you have it.
Oh, Mr. Cameraman. Oh, that is amazing. Please, can you take a picture for us? And when you give us the recipe, we can add the picture onto it. It looks fabulous.
Thank you, Manshi. Yeah, absolutely. I will send a photo with the recipe, and I think you can post it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Well, that's been a wonderful insight. Quick, and you know, you made it absolutely seem effortless, and all the cooking that you've done there. And you know, a lot of times people ask me what's the similar, you know, Indian and Sri Lankan food is the same, and I'm going, no, it's not. There's a lot of influences in Sri Lanka that we don't have, it the very large influences in India. I mean, I say the food and language changes every 50 kilometers, but within Sri Lanka as well, there's so many different flavors, as you said, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the South Indian, and the traditional spices that you have available in Sri Lanka itself. And it's going to be absolutely fabulous to watch your YouTube channel with all the exploring that you've been doing, and, you know, get really into the scene. So when you do have the channel details available, please let us know, and we'll share it with these guys who are logging in to watch, and so they can follow you through your journey and see what all you've found and discovered in Sri Lanka.
Oh, thank you, because I just wanted to show, like, you know, because when you say like curry, and like it's a really good opportunity for me, like you wanted me to like talk about spices and everything. And I think when we talk about curry, people always think like it's Southeast Asia, they always eat curry. But then every curry is like unique, and different things used into the curry. Because even like this curry is like totally different, where you use coconut, fresh coconut grated and then blackened and then added into the curry. whereas sometimes you use coconut milk. And things
Yeah.
like that, the small things makes a big difference. And also like when you say Sri Lankan cuisine, that's like all the different parts of Sri Lanka, same as India, they do like totally different to each other. And every household have their own secret way of cooking it, and the curry powders are different. And it's amazing to learn all of those things. And I think that puts you like in a, you go to someone's house and you're eating it and you go, oh wow, this is totally different, but I have had it somewhere else, it's totally different. So I think that's the way we learn from each other, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the key points you made before was how you were using whole spices toasted and then powdered into your meat dishes, whereas only using powdered spices in the vegetable dishes. And that's such a key factor because you don't want the spices to overpower the ingredients of a vegetable dish as well. So I think once someone's had the experience with the spices, that's where you can make the differences out. But for someone who doesn't realize, they think that everything is really full of spice and really heavy, which is not the case in the cuisines from this part of the world.
Exactly. And it's really good that you've put that spice box together, because it does have all the different spices. Because for someone who hasn't like, you know, really good experience about using the spices, it's just a really great way to start. And also, like, you know, just you're not going to go out to buy each and individual ingredients where you already got them all in one pack. If you want to make like something Greek, Indian, Sri Lankan, you've got that spice box. So you could play around with it. And I think that's a really, really good idea that you've come up with something for beginners or someone who doesn't know about spices. It's a really exciting thing for them to get hold of one of those and experimenting.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons we put the spice pack together, because, you know, I love the way that all of the, and it's all mostly whole spices. I think we've got 3 or 4 powders in there, but we've specifically put them in as whole spices. So you can learn to toast them yourself and you can learn to make your own powder blends. I mean, you know, I think about the way that the spices have traveled, and I love the story about how the spices went from the spice worlds of, you know, Southeast Asia through Africa. And you can imagine the impact of the spices have had on the African cuisine before they even reached Europe. So, you know, there's a whole spice journey that's a lot of fun to explore. And the online masterclasses, every spice you go through talks about where it came from and where it traveled to. So it's definitely exciting, and I'm glad that people have enjoyed buying the box. And thank you for sharing your insights on Sri Lankan food and Sri Lankan spices. And we're looking forward to watching your YouTube channel soon.
All right, thank you, Manshi. Thank you so much. And I think it's like really interesting for us to talk about spices in each different cuisine, and you've done it really well, because you've just, you know, I saw Sandeep last week, and then I saw the other lady from, I think she did about Mediterranean. It's really interesting, because Melbourne is like a place where people are experimenting about food, and there's like so many cafes out there, restaurants, and people are more into food and bringing all together and providing something that they could just take home and just play with it. That's an amazing idea.
Thank you. Yeah, but next weekend we're going to be exploring more of the Asian spices. So we're looking at star anise, and we're looking at Szechuan peppercorns and cinnamon, and all of the spices that are used more in Thai and Vietnamese cuisine. Because Lee, who runs our Thai and Vietnamese cooking classes, she's going to come on and she's going to talk about that. So I'm really happy that we're able to explore all of the different regions, and only in Melbourne are we so lucky. So it's great city.
It's amazing, because it's endless. You know, there's so much spices that you can talk about, and it's endless because people use it like different ways. And even like, you know, we only use it in cooking, but you know, in Ayurvedic medication, they use a lot of spices. And also like if you take cinnamon, nowadays cinnamon is used to produce high-end products like perfume. So it's just so many ways that you could treat a spice, and we are just exploring in food how many, like, you know, how we can use it and what are the different ways of infusing spices into our cooking. And it's amazing.
It is fantastic, and we are so lucky. So Thank you, everyone who is come online, and for everyone who's blowing kisses towards Dee and saying hello to Dee, and all of the lovely messages. And I will load on this video onto the IGTV. So if you've missed any parts of it, give it about half an hour, and you should be able to log back in and watch the whole recipe that Dee's cooked. And we will post the recipe in the next couple of days as well. Thank you very much, Dee, for your time today and for sharing your skills with all of the spices as well.
Thank you so much, Himanshi. It was great to catch up with you again. Hopefully we can meet in person after this is over. And I look forward to, you know, getting a spice box myself. I would love to get one of those and start experimenting. It'll be really nice, you know, like it does have all the spices. So if anyone wanted to get one of those spice boxes, just go ahead and get it, experiment. I know you will come up with different ideas.
And we will all share them. Just very quickly before we go, we've got one question. What is the reason the dish is called black curry?
The reason that's called black curry is because we've used the roasted coconut plus the roasted curry powder, where it does give that black color to your curry. So if you look at it, it does, like, you know, it's not like a yellow curry or red curry, it's more like a black curry. So that's why it's called black curry.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of the weekend, and thanks for sharing your tips and tricks.
Thank you, and hope to see you soon.
Fantastic. See you, Dee.
Bye.